Hello and welcome to the first in the series of Footballers Global Pro Tour, where rising talent like today's special guest Amar Sanghrajka of Watford Football Club Under-18's Academy have the unique opportunity to seek advice from Footballers Global ambassadors. In this episode, ex-pro Jimmy Carter and Footballers Global elite specialist Nick Phipps join us to share their insight and answer any questions from our guests. So without further ado, let's hand over to Amar. Amar, welcome.
Oh, hello.
How you doing?
Yeah, it's good. I'm good. It's great to be here, to be honest. Get some experience and some knowledge from an ex-pro. So, like Jimmy Carter, yeah.
Brilliant. So, Amar, first of all, it'd be really good to get a bit of an idea and a background of your journey so far and where you're at. So, can you give us a bit of an insight into?
Yeah. So, to be honest, I started playing football when I was about 5 years old. I obviously met Nick around then when I was at Tottenham Pre-Academy. So I was at Tottenham Pre-Academy, Chelsea, and Arsenal. I was lucky enough to actually sign with Arsenal when I was 9, and I was there till about 12. I gained a lot of like technical, tactical understanding at that young age, which was great. Things didn't really work out there, so I went to Watford when I was about 13, and I've been there basically ever since, learning, developing. And yeah, I've had some great moments there, to be honest. So, yeah.
And how old are you now, Amar?
I'm 17.
So you're playing in the under-18s.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So obviously this platform's really for you. So I want to sort of hand over to yourself so that you can steer the conversation and ask Jimmy anything that you like with reference to his experience. And it's your platform.
Yeah. So I know a bit about Footballers Global. Nick's told me a bit about it, the scouting and everything. But to be honest, for me, I think it'll be like a great chance to speak to an ambassador like Jimmy and gain some knowledge from him to help me develop and get to the next stage. So I just had some questions that I wanted to ask. You know, a bit personal to me. So I'm always looking to like gain the edge. You know, seeing what more I can do. So I was wondering like, what sort of things were you doing extra outside of training, whether it was like diet or extra exercise, sports science, like what sort of things are you doing in that aspect?
Yeah, Amar, firstly, just to say, fantastic to have you on the program today. It's just really, I've been looking forward to this for ever since I knew that you're going to be coming on, and just hearing you speak there, Amar, in terms of your back journey in terms of you started at Arsenal, at Spurs, and you went to Arsenal, didn't quite work out. And I think what springs to mind straight away, is fantastic that you've had the tenacity and the desire to be able to keep going. And I think that's one of the big things for footballers who get to a certain position at football clubs, and so for whatever reason they don't quite make it at that time. But you've obviously got that huge hunger and desire, and with that, for sure. I mean, you're already playing in the under-18s at Watford. I'm sure you have a massive future with that mindset, which is so important. But fantastic. So congratulations to date, what you've achieved, Amar. It's really, really fantastic. Going on to your question in terms of what I was sort of doing to maybe try and get that edge. I played at wide on the wing. And I was pretty quick. I had a bit of pace about me, but I'd always stop by when all the lads went in after training, like we'd finish the session and what have you. I'd always stop out and do extra sprints. I'd do finishing, so I'd get a bag of balls. I'd get a centre forward and get another player as well, and I'd bounce the ball off from out wide and just keep whipping crosses in, and for the forwards sort of on the end of. And I just think repetition just is so important. If you just get into the habit of just delivering in match type situations, getting the ball at your feet, whipping it in, and so yeah, I think it's really important that anything you can do to try and get the edge over, trying to get the edge for yourself, but also your colleagues as well. Because I know, listen, football's a team game. I understand that, and I know you've got great friends who are in the same situation as you, trying to make it into get pro contracts, and we know the percentages in terms of how many footballers actually go on to make it. So I think it's vitally important that while you have that sort of camaraderie with your teammates, I think it's always nice to sort of do that little bit extra, so you know in your own mind that you're getting a little, you're doing more. So I think you can always do more. Just going back to when I was little, my dad was an Indian man who came over to this country, raised me and my brother from little kids, and all I ever wanted to do was play football and try and make him proud. And he was always of the mindset that if I could get one over my district colleagues, you know. So what he would do sometimes, like middle of winter, -5 degrees at that, pitch black before I went to school, come into my bedroom, he'd whip the covers off me, and he said, "Go and run around the park twice."
Oh,
I'm like, "Dad, what are you doing?" I said, "What?" Like, come on, what? He says, "I'll tell you what I'm doing." He says, while all your friends are sleeping now, go out, get some extra fitness in you, because that's going to be in the bank, and no one can take that away from you. So it was drummed in me from an early age from my dad that you always have to try and do more, go over and above, and that will always stand you in good stead. So is it something that you enjoy doing after training, where you maybe stay out and do a little bit more and practice on certain elements of your game?
yeah, 100%. I mean, I would say at the moment, I think I need to be scoring more goals. So I've been staying out with a couple of my coaches and some more of the deeper line midfielders, getting the ball turning and doing some finishing. One specific coach mentioned to me that I should be shooting through the legs more. He thinks that I have the ability to do that. So we've been like practicing with those, like special mannequins and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I've been trying to do extras. So it's just about like actually getting them done, you know. And especially at this time, like I feel like there's also a lot of ways to get extras done. Like there's no real excuses. I think an extra you can do is like watching clips of my favorite players and learning about them like that. Not just watching them and just seeing them score goals, but seeing their movements, their double movements and things like that. So yeah, I mean, that's some ways I've been trying to do it. But I think I need to be doing more physical, more groundwork to see proper results. So.
I think what's really interesting as well, obviously knowing Amar over the years as well from a young player, like you mentioned in the pre-academy, it's always set in the elite environments to have that, like you're saying, having that edge, and the common factor in players being able to excel is going the furthermore always in their own development. Sometimes it's very easy throughout the academy age groups, you're on a ship and everybody follows the same course, but sometimes you really have to focus and home in on those areas of strengths and weaknesses and just keep building and building, stacking up, like you said, your kind of XP points and wherever that edge needs to be. And I even think from what Jimmy's saying there, I go back to the years prior and you talk about like even getting in a group, so everybody has a drinks and always trying to be the first one back, make sure you're getting bonus touches in because you're gaining more touches than anybody else. So that's helping your development more than somebody else. You're getting more kind of points in the bank. And it is all that time of building up those kind of points as time goes on in terms of getting in the extra touches, extra bit of training, focusing. So your individual learning programs, like you've been focusing, that's whether you're in the club, outside the club as well, which is great. And I think more so, a message that stands out to a lot of players is you're always going to have that clear-cut journey within an academy. You go from, say, an under-8 all the way to a first-team level. That's very rare. We talk about the percentages of players actually doing that. But one thing, obviously, for me, knowing Amar personally as well over the years, which has really stood out for me, is the level of resilience you got to have. And that's at all different ages. When you're really young, you have to build up that resilience level. And also, as time goes on now, as you're hopefully approaching your next stages in your career, you're going to always have to learn that bit of self-belief about yourself. Sometimes you dig your heels in, work even harder than the rest to showcase yourself. And I think that's something you've done fantastically well over the years. And that's credit to yourself in how you apply yourself, not just within football, but within education as well. Because his exact same personality and those traits are transitional in both areas with Amar, which is something that's credit to him. And obviously his family and the support he has. We talk about those support networks. And it's such a key thing for a player to have the right support networks around you to enable to allow yourself to grow as a player, and not only as a player, but also as an individual in society. That is key.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. It's brilliant to hear that, Nick, as well. And of course, you know, by the sounds of it, you have a fantastic support network with your family, supporting and encouraging you. And that's one of the things that I'm glad that I had, because my father, like I said, came over from India, and traditionally, you go back like 40 odd years ago, you know, in terms of like British Asians coming through, the parents back then were more they'd steer their children away from professional sport because they thought it was too risky to let them go down that journey. But my father was the complete opposite. He was a boxer in the Indian Merchant Navy, so he had sport within him in his DNA, and he loved sport. So he would encourage me all the time, and he'd come out with things like no one remembers second best. It was quite harsh in terms of my upbringing, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. The way he delivered the message, it was like literally, you've got to be better than all your contemporaries, and you just got to work harder. And if you apply yourself, you're going to reap the rewards. And so it's fantastic to see that you've got that support and that encouragement from your immediate family, which is fantastic.
Yeah, well, I'm very lucky, to be honest. My mum and dad, they always help me out, offer me advice. Whenever I need something. Like when I was younger, I used to try and wake up early and do workouts before school. Either my mum or dad would be there with me. So yeah, I'm really grateful. Yeah.
I think that's also credit to yourself, Amar, because over the years, but it's about being proactive as well. I'm not being funny. You're in an environment right now, an elite environment, heading towards kind of that professional level, and the things you're doing to actively always search for that extra bit of knowledge, the extra bit of advice, what can help you, and that's what we're trying to say about that common factor in players looking to excel. It's just always trying to have the edge. Always trying to learn a bit more, because I think you can learn so much from other people and try and build that support network around yourself. And that's for people as well looking at our platform. It's not just a case of the player CV goes up and it's to be looked at for, here my stats, can I look for a club, etc. It's actually using the platform like yourself. You'll be using it more so for being able to tap into kind of Jimmy, who's one of our ambassadors, to ex-pros, and trying to learn from the educational side of things. Is there information I can gain here from advice, extra training, individual development stuff? And I think all those areas, they're going to help you obviously develop further play, as you know, which you've been able to do practically over the years.
Yeah.
Amar, you talked about watching video clips of players and stuff like that. Who is your footballing, or who is your footballing hero growing up?
You can't say Jimmy Carter because he's on this call.
I'm asking it because I read it. I've read it somewhere, so I think it's an interesting story.
Well, growing up, like obviously you didn't play the same position as me, but I loved Alexis Sanchez. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I was just because I read it on the Watford site, and then I was just like, that was just incredible. Like, because you got to meet him, didn't you?
I met him at the Barbers. Like, most random thing. Like, he was just came in sitting there after I had my haircut, and I was like, it was when I was still at Arsenal. I'd just come out from training. I was in full Arsenal kit. I went up to him and I was like, I'm a massive fan. I played for the academy. So yeah, that was probably one of the craziest days of my life. But in terms of now, I watch a lot more like Kevin De Bruyne, Declan Rice, these sorts of midfielders. I try to not like match them, because I like to think I'm my own player, but definitely take traits from their game. Like, for example, like De Bruyne's positions that he gets into when he receives, like dropping into fullback areas and all of these things, like small details. I try and bring them out in the game. I talk to my coaches about it. So yeah.
Fantastic. Have you got any more questions for Jimmy? We'll move forward.
Yeah. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you, like, obviously I'm 17 now, so obviously I'm only going to be really playing with players that are, well, you always play players that are older than me. So I was going to ask, like, what was your interaction like with senior players when you were young? Like, how do you gain their trust? Because I know sometimes I train with the 21s, and a lot of times they don't pass me the ball. I mean, and I know I'm there because I'm a good player. I know I deserve to be there, but they don't pass me the ball because they don't trust me yet. So I was just like, how did you gain the pros' trust and things like that?
I think that's a really interesting point, what you say there. And obviously, when you step up and you're playing with the under 21s, and you're saying they don't give you the ball, I think at that point you've got to really your character and your whole demeanor's got to come across in a way where I'm here, right?
Yeah.
Don't be ignoring me. It's got to come across loud and clear, and they'll respect you for that. I think if you go through thinking, I'm all of a sudden I'm playing with the under 20, I've got to be a little bit, say the right thing, or maybe not scream at them. It's having that respect it's a sort of funny thing, Amar, where you got to try and flip that a little bit and go, but I've got no respect in some ways because I want to be where you are.
Yeah.
Right. And I want to be there quicker than you guys even think I want to be there. So when you get on that same training pitch and that same football environment, you're their equal, and don't ever forget that. So I would be demanding that ball, and also what that shows is the coaches on the sideline and be going, look at Amar, he's not fazed by this. He's gone in there, he's not going asking for the ball, he's demanding the ball, and that's a big difference. And you'll know that yourself, Amar. And I think also you get the respect from the coaches on the sideline, thinking, gosh, look at that, he's not fazed by that. But also from the under-21s as well, to be like, geez, because all of a sudden, just if you go from asking for the football, like you're 10 yards away asking for a pass, you scream at that, you scream at someone, they have to react to that.
Yeah.
And that shows you want the ball. So that's one thing I would definitely say is just go wholeheartedly. You ain't there to make numbers up. You're there to take their position. Yeah. So demand that ball and be verbal about if they don't pass you. If you're in a good position and that pass was the right pass that was on, don't be afraid to tell them. Yeah. And you might have to ruffle a few feathers, but I tell you what, in the long run, they're going back in the change room and talking amongst themselves. Geez, Amar, it's got to be about him, because you're going to need that. Because when you go forward into football, into more senior football, that's going to come in handy, and you're going to need that because you're always going to be stepping up. And eventually, when you hopefully get into the first team, again, you have to show that same mindset. It's like, I'm here. I want to be the best player on the pitch today, and I'm not going to be the best player on the pitch if you guys don't pass to me.
Yeah,
and I think showing that sometimes you can lead by example, and the senior players will look at you, think, geez, this guy is 17 years old, but look at him. He wants that ball. He's demanding it. He's screaming at me. He's not fazed by I'm 4 years older, and you'll gain a lot of respect from that. So that will be my response to that, Amar. Okay. I hope that helps.
Yeah, definitely. I'll definitely take it into the next session. It's like I always believe in my ability. So when you don't get the ball, it's frustrating. And I mean, it's kind of understanding, like, not trusting a younger player because obviously you've never played with them before. So it's just about really demanding it.
Yeah.
I'll definitely try and do that more.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in my own age group, I would like to think I do that. I think I'm one of the leaders in my own age group. So it's just taking that across.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And when they do give you the ball and you show them what you can do with your talent, all of a sudden you have that trust straight away. They're going to give you that ball in tight situations whereby maybe, prior to that, they're looking at you thinking maybe your opponent's too close to you.
Yeah.
And like you say, not trusting you. But when they do give you the ball and you deliver, then that's by the wayside now. They're going to keep giving you that ball.
Yeah.
And then it's up to you, obviously, you to show them what you can do.
Next question, Amar, or are you all out of questions?
No, so I had another question. It was sort of like, how did you deal with like setbacks you received and like injuries and just like things like that?
That's a good question, and it's something that's gonna come up. And listen, we know that you've done fantastically well, and we know that you're going to continue with the mindset you have. I can only relate it back to my own experience when I was sort of coming through. So I signed schoolboy forms at 13 with Crystal Palace when I was young, and then I signed apprentice, which was 16. Obviously, you don't have apprentice now; it's a whole different structure now. And then I signed pro at 18, and then I got released at about just before I was 19 years old. So my whole world caved in. All I ever wanted to do from a little kid was, I went to school, I went to bed with my football. I go to bed with my football boots on. They talk about having a passion to achieve your goals, to have a passion. I always say it has to be an obsession. It has to be more than a passion. You've got to be obsessed with the game of football. And for me, getting released by Palace at 18 and a half, 19 years old, it was such a dark time for me. It was incredible. And at that time, I thought to myself, you know what? I've blown it. But it goes back to when we started the show this evening, and you spoke about your resilience. I had to dig deep, and there was no way that I was going to let that go. I knew that it was my destiny to be a pro football player, and I had a massive setback, but it was my duty to try and get back in the game. And of course, there was nothing like Fuller's Global around at the time, so I literally had to, go. I mean, I walked up to Spurs ground, went straight into the stadium, and asked for a trial there and then. And that'd be sort of unheard of now. But luckily, they said, "Listen, Jimmy, come on Monday to the training ground, and you'll have a kit there." So, unfortunately, it didn't quite work out at Spurs for me. I was there 2 weeks, done as good as anyone, but they came up to me and said it wasn't, the timing wasn't right or whatever. So, I then went up to Leyton Orient, who were actually in the 4th division, so like League Two. Got a bus up there, knocked on the door, and I said, "I want to speak to the manager." So I've just been released by Crystal Palace. They said, "Come in." I sat down with the manager at Leyton Orient, and he said, "Jimmy, tell me, what do you want?" I said, "Listen, I'd love to have a trial." And again, he gave me a trial. Unfortunately, they didn't have any money at the time, so it's a long story. But I eventually got a trial at Queen's Park Rangers, and they offered me a contract. So it is all about, once you get a setback, if you are to receiving a setback, is having that mindset that nothing's going to stop you and your dreams. And I was very, very lucky. And it's hard, if you find yourself out of football, you've already shown that you have a strong mindset, Amar. So you're going to take that through for the rest of your career. So in terms of setbacks, I would just say, just have that belief. Just have that belief in your own ability that, come what may, nothing's going to stop you to achieve your goals. So yeah, and I'm sure, you've got a lot of success to come, Amar. So I'm looking forward to seeing your journey.
Yeah, definitely. That's really good insight. I mean, obviously, when I was younger, I was like 12 at Arsenal. I don't know, it was like a period of time I just didn't want to play. Like, I needed a little bit of time away, but I came back and I was hungry. So I think that's that gave me a bit of motivation. I mean, gave me a bit of fire in my belly. So yeah. I mean, it's just about keeping that going.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And also, you would have had the support from your mum and dad to say, "Listen, Amar, don't give up."
Yeah.
And it's important to have that support network around you. I got married when I was 18 years old, so I had my wife saying, "Listen, don't leave it here," because she saw how miserable I was at home. Just being released by Palace, I had no education to fall back on either. So it was a question of, what am I going to do for the rest of my life? And I just had to get back in one way or the other. I was determined to grab that second chance. And but you obviously you have your parents, and you have a great support network around you as well. So yeah, just keep believing. Just keep doing what you're doing. Trying to, as Nick says, keep getting them little edges on your teammates, because there's going to come a time where Watford are going to have to make decisions in terms of who they keep on and who they don't, and make sure you're the one that stands out every single game and every single training session. And as you're doing already as well, speak to your coaches. If there's something that you're not quite sure about, don't be afraid to speak to them, because they would love that as well. They would absolutely love you coming back. They don't want you going away, with unanswered questions. They'd much rather you approach them and say, what should I be doing in this position, or have you got any advice for me? And yeah, they'd love that. They'd love that. That would be fantastic for moving forward for you.
Yeah. Amar, there's obviously a lot of younger kids that are sort of also striving to be in your position, and obviously there's a lot of pressure in terms of finding a balance. I mean, obviously juggling between your footballing career and your education. I mean, how do you deal with that personally? How do you manage that balance? What would your advice be to any younger player who's in a similar situation to you that may be struggling to deal with the balance between the two?
To be honest, I'd say in terms of the football side, I would say enjoy it as much as you can, because when you enjoy something, like it doesn't feel stressful for you. Like there's no added stress. Like when I was always good at school, but I never really, I didn't love it, but I had great friends, and that's also what got me through it. But I think in terms of the football side, like just try your best to enjoy it and like treasure every moment, because when you enjoy like the journey, like the destination just comes easier. So that's how I thought about it. Like I always try to enjoy every moment, and then I obviously got past my GCSEs and everything, and now I'm a scholar basically. So I would just say try and enjoy the football as much as you can, and then in terms of the education, I would say just keep trying as best you can. Like don't give up and try and get all your assignments and everything done. And yeah, I think a lot of teachers and parents that are understanding. Like if you just talk to them, like say you're struggling, you need extra help, they'll always lend a hand. So I think it's just things like that.
Jimmy, sorry, Nick, I just got a quick question for yourself that might sort of help Amar. Obviously, as he goes through his career, he's going to sort of, come up with a lot of challenges, but also entering into a lot of big games. How did you prepare mentally and physically for big games, big pressure games?
Well, I used to love them. I have to say, the bigger the crowd, people always come up to you and say, "Oh, don't you not get nervous for matches?" And there's going to be 40,000 people there tomorrow. But
how do you prepare the Anfield crowd more than anything?
The Anfield crowd. I mean, don't forget, I played at Millwall as well, which was a really, really hostile, intimidating atmosphere for the opposition, and sometimes for us home players as well. So, but I used to relish it. I honestly did. But building up to matches, what I would do, I mean, I don't know if you are superstitious, Amar, but I always had little superstitions. Like I'd eat the same thing. Say I had a good game on a Saturday in front of how many fans or whatever in a league match, I'd try and replicate that the following week. So if I had, I don't know, tuna sandwiches, for example, on a match day, leading up to the match at say 11 o'clock, and if I had a good game that day, I'd try and do the same again. But also what I would try and do as well is try and visualize, because obviously playing on the wing, I'd visualize me up against that particular left back, and I know it sounds a little bit like giving it a little bit, but I'd visualize me rinsing him and literally taking him to the cleaners and running, getting to the bar and whipping crosses in. And I used to sort of visualize it, and somehow it just used to help me. And so it's just preparing yourself mentally for the game, trying to get a good night's sleep. So when you hit the pillow, try not to think too much about the game. Maybe do that earlier on in the evening. Try and visualize yourself scoring goals, getting shots away, getting your foot in, getting your tackles in. So that was a big part of it. Visualization at the time was quite a new thing, but I felt that it really did help me. And obviously, that set sort of routines that I would replicate if I had a good game on certain matches. So, I mean, that's in response to your question, Liam. That's how I would prepare for big matches, and just go in there with pure excitement as well, because the bigger the match. I mean, these games, I've played in quarterfinals, semi-finals of cups, playoff matches. The bigger the game, the bigger the crowd. They're the games you want to be playing in, and you've got to be relishing them. You can't go in there like fearing or what ifs, or if it doesn't go well, you've got to go in with a positive attitude that, tomorrow's going to be a good day and I'm going to be the best player on the pitch. That's another thing I always wanted to do. I always wanted to be the best player on the pitch. And that sounds a little bit maybe strange because it is a team game, and football is a team game. You're reliant on players giving you the ball to go and shine. But I always wanted to come away being the best player on that pitch. I know it's not going to happen every single time. You might be an 8 out of 10, but I always used to strive. If I can be a 10 out of 10 and aim for that, I know I'm going to be there or thereabouts. And that's another key thing as well. Just trying to sort of just come away thinking, what, when I walk past that changing room, I want to be the best player on that pitch today. And I think if you can take that into football matches, Amar, yourself, I think that would be a big bonus if you feel you can take that on as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, Nick, you was going to say something. Sorry, Amar, go on, carry on.
No, I was going to say I'll definitely just try and include that visualization aspect into it and just believing you're the best player. Like, I do try to. Every game you go into it, I try and believe I'm the best player on the pitch. Like no one's better than me. Try and go in with that mindset. So it's it's about those sorts of things. Yeah.
I think it's important as well when your first couple of touches are really important as well. How that game comes, sometimes you can, you might start the game on fire. First couple of balls, you're playing people in, they're in on goal, you're getting shots away, your keeper's making great save. But on the flip side of that as well, there's some games where you go into it, I've had it myself, where things don't come off, and like I try and knock it past the fullback will come in, and that's when you've got to be strong and think, you know what, game hasn't started brilliantly for me, but you know what, it's having that again, digging in and just making sure that doesn't affect you negatively, because I think that's really important, especially as you're younger as well, because I had it when I was younger as well. It's really important you start the game well, because then your confidence and your belief grows for the rest of that game. And I think it's important to identify if it doesn't quite come off in the early stages, is to still have that belief and think to yourself, you know what, okay, that's fine, but put it behind you. Don't overthink that. That's gone now. Them 2 passes you just done, that's gone now. My third, fourth, fifth, sixth, all going to be spot on.
Yeah,
I think that's important to take forward in games.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I personally feel like I play my best games when I don't start off with anything too crazy. I'll just try and keep the ball, first 2 passes, and get some credit in the tank. And then from then on, I feel like I really build up. And yeah, that's when I feel like I have my best games. So, yeah.
Brilliant. No, it's fantastic.
Nick, did you want to?
Oh, yeah.
I cut you off 20 minutes ago.
That's all right. No, I was just going to say, building on really what both Amar and Jimmy are saying, a lot of the things that are coming to the surface is about mindset and players having that kind of resilience, visualization, these types of things, and how much we've seen psychology really been enforced within academies over maybe the last 5-10 years, and how important it is. And I think the biggest thing is, for players who are lucky to be in academy systems, whether it's as a scholar or a young academy player or a pro, they've got a support network around them. But for other people who might not be as fortunate to have that, it's important to try and tap in to seek advice, because I think mindset is such a big thing within the game. And it might not necessarily be that you kind of have to go to a club, like you're saying. You can kind of, for instance, go to your parents, look on, obviously, hopefully our platform will provide that for people as well, to be able to give them that kind of advice, whether it be on mindset, for resilience, visualization techniques, and these types of things, because it plays such a big part in the game to instill that confidence and belief. And these are the types of things you've got to have, because it's not just within football, but having that bit of resilience through life. You're going to have setbacks off the pitch, not necessarily always on the pitch, and it's just building your character. And it's such a good trait to have, which sport teaches, to have that, whether it's obviously as a player or in the real world within business as well. So these are types of transitional skills that can be learnt from the game that can help in other areas of life too. And that's what I've always believed with Amar, as a player or whether it's outside of football, he's always going to be a successful person, because I think as a character, he has that resilience, he has that mindset, the way he comes across, and he has been very proactive to kind of seek that advice from the support networks around it. And also, even with this today, look, as a player who already has so much there as a support system, he's still come out of his way actively to try and think, okay, can I still develop myself further? And that's the type of attribute I always, like we spoke about earlier, gaining that edge, going the extra mile, whether it's extra bit of training, all those types of things you can look to build in to try and push yourself further as an individual within your development.
So, Nick, would you say that that's what separates the best players from the rest?
That is definitely a fundamental factor of it. It's that having, like, I think there's a really interesting point that Jimmy said earlier. So I was thinking, look, how am I going to gain their trust? And it's just like, you have to, when you're in that, you are in that environment already. If you're called up into the 21s and it's okay as an 18s player, you're called up, then you've been called up for a reason. You have to believe in yourself. You're there. You're just as good as the rest. There is no real time to kind of be thinking, oh, settling, I just need a few sessions to then they'll game. No, you have to literally from the off be, I'm good enough. You trust your instinct, believe in yourself as well, and you'll learn from these lessons anyway. You back yourself, and going forward, you start to build, kind of like Amar saying about that bit of credit in the tank as well. He might do the right thing. All of a sudden, the game flows through him a bit more, and it's going to increase his confidence going forward as a player. But it's definitely, I've definitely seen it over the years. It's the players who are willing to do the extra bit of work and also have a good support network and systems around them. That definitely helps them so much more as a player. There is no guarantee within football, but all you can do is stack the odds in your favour. in terms of players looking to kind of work and seek advice, whether it's for their mindset-based training, psychology being a big factor within football. There were obviously more so over the last kind of 5-10 years, you've seen within kind of sessions and psychology coming in, how it's kind of implemented now within sessions for kind of resilience-based practices and trying to emotional conditioning as well. So these are kind of factors that players can look to work on as well outside of football, where we're looking on our platform, for instance, with psychology-based training, mindset-based training as well. So it's something off the field you could look to improve on. But more so, I feel that for players to be able to move forward, always trying to gain that next kind of level and edge in different aspects and areas of their games can only help them build towards their next goal, and just enjoy the journey, like Amar was saying, and enjoy that process, and the destination will hopefully come as well. But it's about being resilient and mindful towards where you're going and working hard towards it, because there's many other players out there trying to compete for the same thing.
Okay, absolutely. Amar, is there any more questions that you had for Jimmy, or are we all done here?
No, I think we're all done. It's some really great insight. I'm really, really grateful to have a chat with Jimmy and gain some of his knowledge. So yeah,
I think Jimmy's very much enjoyed it as well, and it's been great to have you on, and I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future moving forward. But thank you so much for joining us and taking the time out. And Jimmy, again, thanks as well, and Nick, and thanks guys. And that's it for another episode. Cheers, guys.
I wish you all the best, Amar, with your development going forward and your journey. And we'll obviously be keeping close tabs. Look forward to keep seeing your progress.
Fantastic. And I just like to repeat that as well. Absolutely fantastic hearing your story today, and meeting you for the first time on this platform. And just want to wish you all the very best. Keep working hard, and I'm going to be looking out for you from this time in. And I just wish you all the very best, mate. And good luck to you, mate.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
If you have yet to check out footballersglobal.com, follow the link in the comments section below, or visit us at www.footballersglobal.com.